one of the first things most people talk about when they talk about Hoyt is the fact that the tenure of employees that work here, which to me is something that comes across right away of like a good company.
Yeah, it's a great place to work. And I mean, even if it wasn't a bow company, it's still a good company, right? Like, you need to be good at your job. You can't just love bow hunting. Right? So our engineers are accomplished engineers. Our finance team is a very good finance team, right? Our manufacturing and operations manager, he could run any operation anywhere. He's, our sales team, our marketing team, we got to be good at what we do, not just love archery.
I was like, well, if I throw a mic on, then I can help others the way that these people have all helped me.
Born in the heart of the Pennsylvania deer camp, with the help of experts, friends, and local legends, we bring you valuable knowledge and powerful stories for your hunting adventures. Welcome to the East Meets West Hunt Podcast with your host, Beau Martonik.
All right, we are live at the Hoyt headquarters here. I've got Mr. Evan Williams, who's been on the podcast here before, here off to my left, and then to my far left, I've got Jeremy Eldredge, who has not been on the podcast before.
Right. First time.
Yeah. Well, first of all, guys, thank you for inviting me out. Actually, I kind of asked if I could stop by, but but thank you for
invitation was extended.
Yeah. Thank you for, taking the time out of your busy schedules to be able to show me around today and let me check out the facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jeremy, with it being your first time on the podcast, why don't you give just a little background, who you are, what you do here at Hoyt, and just a little background on yourself.
Okay. Yep. I will, next month, I will be at Hoyt for 21 years. So I've been working here a little while. Before I worked here, I was the Hoyt guy that would go down to the dealer every day, like when Hoyt was about to launch, see if they had the new catalog yet.
Yeah.
And checking the website, see if it was updated yet. Like I was a big Hoyt guy before I worked here, like loved Hoyt. Had a Vortec, had an Ultratech for target shooting. I was like shooting my bow all the time. Now I hardly ever shoot because it's work now. But
Yeah.
When the job I had, they were relocating. They got bought out. They were moving to Albuquerque, New Mexico from Salt Lake. And I had a young family, and plus all my family is here, and I love Utah. And so I didn't really want, and it wasn't a job I wanted to make a career out of anyway. So I started looking for a job. And back then it was in the newspaper. You pull up the want ads. Sounds so funny, and I remember opening and scrolling the page and Hoyt, most people just put text, but Hoyt had put their Hoyt logo. And I saw the Hoyt logo and I was like, no way. And I looked, and it was actually a job in a field I had experience in and had a degree in. And so, man, I didn't even trust the mailman. I drove my resume. Again, now you just email it. But back then it was mail your resume to, I drove it down there and walked in the front door and handed it at the front desk because I didn't want to risk it, man. I was trying to make sure I did everything I could to get this job. And anyway, I got the job, and 21 years later, I'm still here, and today I'm the director of marketing.
Awesome.
But I've had jobs in purchasing and supply chain. I've been the event coordinator. I've been the pro staff manager. I've been the assistant marketing manager, the marketing manager, and now the director of marketing. So,
yeah,
who would have known?
Yeah. It's pretty cool looking back on a journey like that to really be able to just be like, how did all this line up in the way that it did?
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see.
Yeah. I was cleaning out a room the other day, and I found like the first bows I bought for my kids when I started working here. And they were just little Rintex maybe. I mean, they're just little bows. And now my boys, they're in their 20s and they're shooting RX9s, and they're, one of them's a hunting guide and stuff. But their love for it definitely came, from my love for it. And my love for it was able to just be amplified by working here and the invites I would get on hunts. And, a lot of times guys would invite me and bring my boys. So they got to come on some hunts with me out of state that, never would have happened for 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds. So
yeah.
They just grew up in it, and they're eating up with it too. And, it's been a fun job, but a fun way of life. And it's impacted my family, of course, just, from what they love to do and the opportunities they've had. But anyway, that's a little bit of my story.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And it's something that I recognize from the first time I talked to both of you on the phone. And one of the first things most people talk about when they talk about Hoyt is the fact that the tenure of employees that work here, which to me is something that comes across right away of like a good company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The president, Zach, he's been here. I think he started a year before I did. So he's been here 22 or 23 years. Tom Driffel, our VP of sales, is coming up on 26 or 27, maybe close to 30 years. We have several employees that are over 30 years. Randy Walk, the former president, when he retired, was at 35 years. Our VP of finance is at 30-something years. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tenure. A lot of tenure.
Yeah, and that's what even Evan was pointing that out on the shop floor out there in the manufacturing department. Same type of deal of people being there for long periods of time, and even that is even another step of, because I feel like a lot of times, at least when I've worked in manufacturing, you'll find places that if someone's not treating people well, they're tend to be kind of bugging out versus ones that are sticking around. So it's cool to be able to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great place to work, and I mean, even if it wasn't a Beau company, it's still a good company, right? Like that, and that's kind of what we preach around here is we're a Beau company, but we're a business. You need to be good at your job. You can't just love bow hunting. Right? So our engineers are accomplished engineers. Our finance team is a very good finance team, right? Our manufacturing and operations manager, he could run any operation anywhere. He's our sales team, our marketing team, we got to be good at what we do, not just love archery, right? And so, so it's a good company, but then we get to combine it with our passion and the outdoors, and then our customers are, they're passionate. This is what's really cool about working in this space. Our customers care about our product, and they wait for us every year to come out with a new product.
Oh yeah.
If we were working at Whirlpool, we wouldn't be doing this podcast because you wouldn't care, and our customers wouldn't care when we're coming out with a new dishwasher. It just wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. We get to work in this space where, we're passionate about it. Customers are passionate about it. It's part of the lifestyle that we love and think about every day, and look forward to the falls. And so, it's pretty cool.
I remember the one job that I had not too long after college, and I was there, and they were making water valves. I was like, "Oh, this is cool!" Wow! Can you believe that this is in your sewer system? This is cool.
Yeah,
it's like, that's not as cool as a bow.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps. And Evan, why don't you give a brief background on yourself? For anyone that's listening, you could also go back in December 2024. Evan and I did a full podcast and went through your entire history and how you got to this point. Mm-hmm. But give a brief background for anyone that hasn't listened to that.
Yeah, so I was just a random Kansas country kid that was working in a shop in Colorado at the time, and had almost 10 years in there, and got a phone call one day from Mike Looper, who was the VP of sales and marketing at the time. And there was a position that had come open, and I had put my resume in through email a couple of different times. And, I don't know if my name just came up or what it was, but Mike had left me a voicemail with, just a message to give him a call back. And it was literally 2 days later, Jeremy's picking me up at the airport for an interview. And I was here that whole day because I think you picked me up around 9:00. And I remember landing back in Colorado Springs, and a buddy of Jeremy and myself called me as we're getting back to the terminal and asked how it went, and I started laughing. I was like, well, I said it was a good conversation. It was a good icebreaker, and it was a really good learning opportunity on how to not interview on my part. So, I know Danny had probably had quite a few conversations with Jeremy about it, and being young and knowing I wanted to eventually try and go for something here at Hoyt as a career opportunity. I was really, really nervous, and Danny knew it, and sure the conversation went that direction. So,
nervous.
They rolled the dice on me, and they had talked with the owner of the shop as far as, when they would need me out here, because again, at that point it was July when he did the interview. We were expecting baby number 2 at the end of July. Big season of sales for the shop was that time frame. We were getting into season, but at the same time, they're dealing with new product launch and trying to get all the assets and everything built for that. And so they came to an agreement as to, when the shop could let me go and when Hoyt needed me out here. And so September 14th, I packed everything up and drove out, and September 15th was my first day. And so September 15th this year will be my 10 years here.
Oh, that's pretty awesome, man. It's a cool story. And even from both you guys' standpoints, the idea of like dreaming of having a job like this and working to it. Actually was talking to someone at the Mountain Ops event that we were all at here recently, and she was talking about like wanting to be in the space and like this, and I could see it like from the outside. I'm like, I'm not just telling you this, but you're doing the right things to get there, learning all the different stuff and being around people. And it's just, I think you have dreams like that, it can definitely happen. I think we're all kind of living proof of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things, and maybe Evan doesn't remember this part, but we knew he was going to be doing a lot of videos for us. So after the interview and he went home, we said, all right, he was really nervous in the interview, but let's see how he is. We didn't get a chance to do a video with him, so we'll give him an assignment to make a video for us. And that
didn't go much better.
No, dude, he nailed it. Like that video came back, like, dude, for the first time, setting up the camera by himself and just filming something. He did a great job. So we knew he'd be all right. He's been doing videos for us.
They
for a long
have never showed a single outtake from any of my initial videos, though. They exist. I have seen them. They're not that good. So when we first got here, and of course, I walked in and I have a bald head. I shaved it because I was hot working in Colorado Springs. We didn't have fans or anything. And I know Mike is just, we're going to put this guy on camera. And freaked him out first off. But at that time, like, we didn't have a video prompter. So we would write the script up, and then literally I was in the studio, all the lights off except for the studio lighting, on a stool. Taylor was behind the camera, and I would memorize this script. And then in between takes, I would go over and rememorize one paragraph at a time, and we would sit there and do one paragraph, make sure we got it, and then I'd look at the next one, redo it. And so it was, I mean, the first, and we did 7. I think that first year we had 7 hunting bows.
7 new products.
Yeah. And so I want to say we spent 3 solid weeks in that studio, except for evenings about after 5 o'clock when we would get catalog proofs and comps in. And then we were all out with catalog comps on the table and little sticky notes, and we're all going through and, okay, this name is spelled wrong, and this, we need to move this picture here. And the entire team is out in the marketing suite editing the comps with sticky notes. And I know there's a couple nights that, because Taylor at the time was living way down south, and so he was staying on couches, so he didn't have to make the hour and a half drive, and so it was fun. But part there's a sticky note on Jeremy's computer, and it stemmed from some of that. But we had a long year a couple years ago, and it said, does it say never again in October or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that used to be kind of the normal. Like, we'd be here late, during that catalog season and during launch season. It was just, we were just here late for weeks at a time, and it was horrible. Like, and it didn't need to be that way if we could just start sooner, and it just rearrange deadlines anyway. So yeah, I took this sticky note and wrote great big never again and put it on because it was one particularly bad October and September. Like, none of us even heard an elk bugle that year. We were just working. Like, that's pointless.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That is pointless. Like, that's something we shouldn't miss.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I wrote, and it's still there. It's been hanging on my computer monitor for probably 6-7 years now. And we have not done that since.
Really?
Yeah. So
we may not get to hear an elk bugle, but it's not for lack of trying.
You're in the woods.
So
yeah. So
that's really cool. Getting to see the manufacturing process today was one of my favorite things to to be able to see firsthand, because Hoyt has been at the top of, like, if you ask somebody that doesn't even know hunting, like, Hoyt is one of probably 2 brands that would come up as far as like knowing that. And to be able to do that for how many years? When did Hoyt start?
1931.
Yeah. For, almost 100 years of being at the top and being able to stay there. There's got to be things that are going right. And from me seeing the manufacturing side of it, just even that alone, outside of everything else that goes into making a company, but the manufacturing process was super impressive. As someone that came from manufacturing, I kept saying to Evan, I was like, man, I've been a part of lean manufacturing teams and most of it was kind of done half-assed or wasn't believed in, and being able to see how these cells are set up, how everything works and everything has its place, and just how neat and organized things were. Man, unless ever you were like, oh, Beau's coming to town, we got to make sure we clean up. But I doubt that would be the situation.
No, I mean, you saw the way the studio looks right now. Like, that's close to a norm. But no, and we've got, the best team in place in every department to run those things. And even when it comes to having the limited space that we do from a manufacturing standpoint, like we looked at the vault that had, cams to be able to pull from, just taking that down and having the implementation of one piece of equipment that changes that whole storage facility, that allows us to open things up and bring in more manufacturing potential for efficiency. So they've done a really good job the last couple of years, really. I'd say probably 8 to 10 years, trimming that down and being a lot more efficient in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons we bought this building. Because when I started working at Hoyt, we were just, 200 yards down the road in a different building, and Hoyt had been in that building forever. And when we came up with the new process, carbon bows, well, we got to build carbon bows. Where can we do that? And like, oh, how about over here? We can fit it over here. It didn't flow. It's just where we could fit it. And so when we decided to buy this building, it was just a big spec warehouse, four exterior walls, nothing built on the inside. And so we were able to design everything how we wanted it, from this boardroom to the machine shop to the paint area, to everything was designed to flow perfectly and for parts to move the least amount of distance as possible from one station to the next. So yeah, we were able to take advantage of a lot of improvements and a lot of efficiency gains, and then to Evan's point, which we weren't done, right? We moved in and we were working, but stuff's always changing, and there's new technologies. We've got a pile of robots now, and we didn't have robots 10 years ago, and so we just keep trying to improve and get better. So
yeah, that seeing the different stations, and then like the other thing I thought was cool was every employee we walked up to, Evan knew them by name, talked to them. They, would chat back and forth and go through it and give me the background. This person came from this department, moved up through, and this is where they're at now, and working through it. It's just, from seeing, when you look at it that way, and the reason why I personally put so much importance on that is because that's where you see the consistencies. You're not seeing as many bad things getting out because of, newer people all the time. And you always have newer people, and I'm not saying that's bad, but just having those tenured people going throughout those different stations, and to be able to do that. And there is a lot of technology out there, but there's also a lot of manual, like this person is doing this particular task, whatever that might be.
Yep. And I think we're at 10 robots right now. Something like that. It's really for the amount of manufacturing and production that we're doing, the amount of automation that goes on is truly way less than people would believe if they haven't seen it themselves. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of touch points that you've got to watch, again, where stuff is coming in and where it's going, and the flow that it's having, because it can very, very quickly come to a point where you have way many more times that product is being handled and moved and slid around if you're not careful, because there is so many people that have hands on. So
yeah, Yeah, that makes total sense. And I mean, even down to like the coding and the painting and seeing how that whole process is in place. And you were telling me about certain things, and we'd go and watch, and it just so happened like, oh, someone's making a touch up here, doing these little things that were just, you could easily probably make some shortcuts in areas to be more, efficient as far as time, but as far as being able to build the most premium products and delivering what the customer is paying for, all those little details matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of that is honestly it's Cheech when he's down doing the touch up paint on all the camo stuff.
Yeah.
Like he has an eye and a skill set that is just amazing to take, again, any pattern that's going to come across that he's going to deal with, and to look at it and go, okay, this line or this piece of tree bark or leaf should continue through here, and he's hand stenciling that because where that specific pattern was at, rolling around a riser, just got a little stretched or doesn't look just the way it should, and so he's going in and hand touching that up, and he's an artist, and I could sit there and probably spend too much time watching some of that some days.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was amazing to me when you told me they did that, and then got to watch them actually doing it, and I was like, really? Yeah, that's cool, because we were chatting. I was saying about when I was watching the process, I was like, I've seen some bow manufacturers done really poor jobs on it, and I was saying how I like, especially like, I've had some of the subalpine parts, and I was like, I've seen some really bad subalpine work done on it, and I'm sure because it's not easy. I'm not, blaming them for it, but I was like, how does this work? He's like, oh, this is why ours looks the way that it does, and went through that process. So that was cool. And can you guys talk a little bit about the product pipeline a little bit, as far as like from a research and development standpoint, and then how did you break down those categories for me, Evan? You were talking about
on the engineering team.
Yeah.
So we have the mechanical team, the R&D team, and our product team are the three in-house engineering teams we have. So the mechanical team is going to be dealing with specific areas of manufacturing, designing, building, and implementing specific machines built here in-house for a task or a job on the production floor. Because again, we have specialized areas and specialized need of machines that you can't just go out and buy on the market. So the mechanical team is working with those specific floor areas to design, build, create, and then also train for that specific job that they're building them for. R&D team is going to look at new materials, new products, new ways of doing things, and they're going to have a set of tests that, is this going to be something we want to implement? Is this something we want to turn over to the production team? And then when they do their research and their dive on that background, it's, this is something that you guys can take and pass it off to the production team. And they usually have it about 10 months production.
Well, it all depends, but they've got to give the product engineering team enough time to put that new technology or whatever into the new product, and still do all their testing, all their dry fire testing, and their cycle testing, and their field testing. It could be a big mistake if you rushed something to market, right? For example, our carbon bows, our R&D team worked on that for it was about 16 years from start to finish. Now they would come off it and go work on different projects and then come back to carbon. But then near the end, it was like 4 years steady when they're like, we're getting close. Like, we've got a new technology, we've got a new partner, and these things are going to make it possible to do what we want to do on a bow. And then they worked on it hot and heavy for the last 4 years to get it to a point where then the product engineering team was like, we can see how this is going to work. Let's go. Let's get a bow. And so the carbon matrix was the first bow, and then the carbon element, and then the rest is history. But it just depends. I mean, it could be something the R&D team discovers, works on a few months, and is ready to hand it off, or it could be years and years, and it could be it never happens. I mean, the blue sky's the limit for them. So there's been a lot of stuff they've worked on, and it just never worked out, and it just got tabled. So
because the biggest thing especially with making, say, flagship bows, you're expected to come out with a new one every single year.
Yeah.
And from the standpoint from testing or design, testing, all these different things that's got to happen in that time frame is ridiculous when you think about it. And it still is, but explaining how like sometimes you'll find certain technologies that maybe don't fit in now, need to work things, and you're still building that product cycle out like you maybe would with a traditional piece of gear that maybe, reinvented every, 3 to 5 years or whatever it might be, but you're continuously like plug and play in on these different components and technologies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. You were just asking on the way back from lunch. So what's 2026 going to have? And we said, we can't tell you.
They won't even tell me, guys.
But no, it is archery. I don't know. I'm sure there's other, I'm sure there's other, especially hobby related industries where, again, it's a passionate consumer and they want something new every year. Right. And we can be thankful for that, but it's a curse and a blessing. We got to come up with something new every year, but we get to come up with something new every year. And people are waiting to buy it. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's also super rewarding every year to come out with a new bow and watch people run down and buy it and love shooting it.
Yeah. So you can't give any information for anybody for 2026?
There'll be some compound bows in the lineup.
All right. That's no, I'm just messing with you there, but no, that'll be good. I'm excited to get to see it. You were kind of teasing me with a few things there. I was like, thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah. Speculate all you want.
I was pulling at it. One thing that I think is not maybe it's just me, but not realized enough from Hoyt that I've realized in the last few years is and I got to see it here. Actually, Evan and I spent a decent amount of time on the strings and making strings in house. I have not found a bow before where I was like, it was like you dealt with the stock strings or stretching, you're going to retune it throughout the summer, hunting season, sometimes maybe in the middle of it. And I said to Evan, I was like, I didn't have to retune my RX-8 last year the entire time. Like after I got it, set up the initial kind of break-in period there, made sure everything was good, I never touched it the rest of the season. And I shot a lot out of that bow. Yeah.
Yep. And it's fun to go back and watch those because, again, I'm really, really good friends with one of the engineers that kind of started heading up that project and increasing the quality back there. And we got to talk with Mike.
Yeah.
And just the little things like him pointing out, depending on how they come off the machine, you can lose or gain a half twist just by that one little change. And like the attention to detail that his team has on that element of the entire picture is absolutely incredible. Like the attention to detail is it is spot on, and it's every string, every cable, every piece that comes off, and it is time and time and time again every single day.
Yeah. That it went seeing the setup that was there, and it's funny. You were telling me about Mike, and he just happens to walk around the corner, and so I got to talk with him. And as he's, he never met me before, he wasn't prepared to give any sort of speech, but like you could just hear as he was talking the excitement and just the passion that he had in it.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right, he's pretty serious about making this work.
Yeah. And Mike's one of those guys, like you talked about, asking about geeking out on arrows, and Mike will geek out on the strings. He'll geek out on every little part because that's his expertise. Like that's his knowledge base. Like it is manufacturing, production, engineering. Like what can I do? How can my team develop a better part of this process? How can we be stronger here? How can we be more efficient here? And I'm sure that Mike will probably lose sleep every single night thinking about this little thing or that little thing, and will this widget help us here? Or if we make this change over in this department, does that potentially lead to a better efficiency and a higher production value of our equipment?
Yeah. That and we were joking about it in the vehicle about like how much geeking out on arrows and everything. what I really like is when you have someone that's the one that are building the products that are doing that for you. That helps not make myself go crazy about doing it. So that was like a thing. It's like, I don't want to have to think about strings. To be honest, like, strings aren't sexy to me. It's not like, oh man, I want this new set of strings. I just don't feel that way. So I just want something that's going to work. Yeah, maybe I'll get some colors here and there, make it look cool, but I just want something that's going to work, that I know when I pick up my bow, it's going to shoot. My broadheads are going to fly good. It's not stretching all over. My peep's not twisting. Like, that's what I think is important, especially for, the everyday bow hunter that is, spending 10 hours a day working and has young kids and busy. They don't want to be messing with all these problems all the time. Just picking up something that's reliable and being able to shoot it. And, Jeremy, you brought up the dry fire testing, and Evan was giving me a little bit of history on that, because I've always known of, Hoyt's dry fire testing, and that's what I always joke when I'm with buddies that are shooting other bows. I was like, let me get my limb pocket set real quick and dry fire this and just, joke around. But would one of you guys want to kind of give a little bit of like the history on that and what that dry fire test is for people that don't know?
Yeah, so it's a test we've had for a long time, since before I started working here. And I think the story goes to Randy Walk, who was the president and also an engineer. During some testing, he had a bow break on him, and it just scared the crap out of him. No one should have to ever have that happen. Like, it's violent, it's scary, it can cause injury, and through that, he designed the tech riser. So that's the bridge section that comes behind our grip, right? I think ours is the only bow that has that. So what that really does is gives you two sections in the middle of the bow where the bow is most likely to break. So if a grip section ever did break, we've got the tech bar that holds the bow together. So the middle section of our bow, where most bows, it's the thinnest part and the most the weakest part of their bow. It's actually, for us, it's our widest part and our strongest part of our bow. So he developed that riser, to be the safest riser we could ever build. And then he wanted to prove it, so we come up with this 1500 dry fire test. So every Hoyt bow, whether it's a recurve, whether it's a kid's bow, whether it's a premier carbon bow, it gets built to 80 pounds, 30 inches of draw length, and it gets put in the dry fire machine. And so every design that an engineer comes up with, they have to build the first one, put it in the dry fire machine. It has to go 1,500 dry fires without anything happening to the riser. No small cracks, no hairline cracks, no bends, no tweaks, no breaks. 1,500 dry fires at 80 pounds, 30 inches. And the limbs have to go 1,000. So the limbs have to last 1,000 dry fires without splintering or breaking. And they'll usually last the full 1,500. It's not like they have to be replaced at 1,050. They'll usually just last the full. And cams have a standard and so on. So yeah, that's the Hoyt dry fire test. And I think I got that story mostly right about Randy and why we did it. But yeah. So we've always kind of hung our hat on having the toughest, most durable bows, safest bows, and that's why we had this personal reason from Randy, the former president, of like, I don't ever want a customer to go through what just happened to me. So
I didn't know that about the riser design on why that piece came through the back there. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was just because it looked cool.
Yeah, no, it's the original. So that's called the tech bar, and the original bar, that stood for total engineering concept, and it came from those early days. We're like, this isn't a handle to hold on to while you hike. There is an engineering reason why our bow has this. So
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because both on the aluminum and the carbon bows, you have that, and that's always. I mean, that's probably the most obvious way when you see a bow from a distance that you can tell if it's a Hoyt or not.
Yeah.
So it helps in marketing too.
That's right. It's our trademark on the bows. Yeah.
Yeah. But the the dry fire test is because I mean that happens whether I've been on hunts with people that have accidentally done it. Literally today we were in archery range and a guy was talking to me and pulled back his bow. He didn't shoot, but I was like, "Hey, arrow, yeah." And I've been at TAC when that happens because you get a bunch of people together, you're talking,
start jawing each other.
It's pretty easy to get your arrow. So
I don't remember if I ever told this on the podcast or not, but I did it once when I was working at an archery shop. When I was working and I wanted to try a thumb release for the first time. I never had used one. I went home and I was like so worried about how to figure out this thing and my hand was going to work that I drew back. I never nocked an arrow and I shot and my peep blew out, everything derailed. I had all these issues and so I went back to the archery shop. I had a key, so I got in there and my boss happened to come and he forgot something. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just making some." I was allowed to be in there whenever, but he's like, "Why are you here like late, like working on your bow?" He's like, "Did you dry fire that?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Yes, you did." And well, just so happened, this is where the embarrassing part was. I did it again. I did it twice, and I've never done it again since. That was 10 years ago, but I did it again, and I was like, all right. So they took a big piece of cardboard and put it on the back of my riser that says load arrow with some other words that I won't say on here, but they just had, and they taped it to my riser and they said, "You have to keep this here to be able to do it." So the whole point of that was accidents can happen.
And I always say there's two types of archers, those who have and those who will dry fire. Like you're in one of two camps, and if you're in the haven't yet, then just wait, it'll happen. You'll make fun of somebody or get to talking and it'll happen and you can change camps. But
yeah, speaking of something that can happen on a hunt, we were just on a bear hunt in Canada. And so Tyler from Archery Country was there and he was there and we were taking George St. Pierre hunting for the first time. So MMA fighter, one of the best that's ever lived. And he never, drawn back a bow before. And Tyler brought him a bow, and then we realized that his eye, as far as dominance, was he might have been left-handed, but he was right. So, anyways, we were trying to figure out what it was. Dominance. And Bill from Spartan Forge had his Hoyt there that was left-handed, so we said, let's have him try that. Well, something happened and the bow derailed, let's put it that way. And we're there at camp, we're like, no one's got a press. So we've got Tyler and a few others, and there was planks on this bridge that they set the limbs down
through the
and they're pushing down on it. And we've got like three grown men like trying to get, we got it back together. And it actually got Bill ended up shooting. He's like, I think it shoots better than it did before. But it was a pretty comical. At the time, it seemed pretty serious. I was glad it wasn't my bow, but it was pretty funny.
That's Hoyt tough.
Yeah. I was when they were over there doing it, because I didn't see the actual derailing happen. I walk out and I see all these guys, just like pushing down on this bow. I'm like, oh my god,
trying to get it back on.
Have you guys ever had any situations in the field hunting or anything where it was like somewhat of a catastrophe with your bow that you've had to work on or fix, or maybe you couldn't?
There's not much wood close enough. I went down avalanche chute, and it was with my original 2010 Matrix, and it ended up flipping and getting thrown down the mountain a little bit, and had a spot hog it side on it. So I mean, extremely rugged and durable.
Bulletproof.
And luckily there was some nicks and some chips in the riser and in the limbs, but 60 yards nodded a tree. Was like, okay, guess we're all right with it. So, and then that was in September, and then in November I shot my biggest mule deer, that 190 non-typical with it. So,
dang. Yeah, well, that's lucky to have that, and that's I mean, the more I hunt when I look at equipment, I want lightweight stuff when I can, but durability is super important when it comes to the bow and sight. Both are super important on that front.
Yeah, I've never had any mishaps, fortunately. So
really,
yep,
that's
been all right. Not that I can. If there was, it must not have been a big enough deal that it's, stuck with me. I just can't think of anything right now. I've been pretty good. So
nothing even with like the site or anything else like to.
No, but we had a guy, he wrote into our customer service team on our email that's on our website. And he told us, he had bought a new, I think it was a VTM, so just a few years ago. He's on an elk hunt and he shot an elk. It was like just such a great hunt, everything. And then on the pack out, he had his bow on the scabbard on a horse. And a rodeo happened, and dude, he's like, I wouldn't expect, my bow to go through, and it didn't survive, but I just want you guys to know it's not your fault. Like, the horse and the trees, and like, we wanted to see the bow so bad. We're like, is there any way you can send it in? Like, we want to get a look at it.
Yeah.
And it was tacoed, man. The riser was just, and we helped him out the best we could. We hooked him up. But anyway, yeah. So that was probably the biggest mishap I've ever seen is when the horse had its way with that bow, and it was unreal. It was tacoed so bad.
I've heard stories of, and I almost did it last year with putting my Hoyt on top of my Diamondback and driving off. And I did it, and luckily I remembered. Like partway through, I was just like, I just slammed on the brakes. I didn't have to look. I was like, or I slowly hit the brakes, hoping it didn't go flying somewhere. So it was just sitting up there. I was like, oh my gosh! And I got so lucky with that. But I had a buddy that did that. He was whitetail hunting in Kentucky, and he was driving back to West Virginia, and he was like 15 miles down the road before he realized he forgot it, and he found his bow, but it wasn't. It was in pretty rough conditions. So like, there's things like that I've and knock on wood, I haven't had anything major happen either. So I was hoping one of you guys had like a crazy story with it. But I've had like sights moving and stuff in the field. But I always keep like a little kit with me of the essential Allen keys and everything I need.
I got a buddy switched from another company because of his accident. But
did you?
Oh yeah. It was my second elk hunt ever, and it was in southern Colorado. I had to close the shop up that night. I was driving down to meet him, and he called me like an hour before we closed. He goes, "Hey, do you have a cam for this draw length in this bow?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" Well, I might have dry fired my bow. I was like, "You might have, or you did, because there is a difference." Well, I did. I was like, "Okay, well, do you need strings and cables too?" And so luckily we had all the parts. I had one of those bow vices. It's got the little red wheels on it. You can crank on it. It bow presses your bow. Mm-hmm. And so I took that down there with me, and we get it all put back together and reset up. And we were staying at his parents' house, and we were in the basement. And they had one of those little gutter windows. And he goes to drop back, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, you just dry fired your bow a couple hours ago. Like, just put an arrow in it. Like at least you hit a center block wall or something, right? Like, what if it wasn't you? And he was shooting a dual caliper release, and so he hooks it up, knocks his arrow, and just as he gets ready to break it over, bow goes. That arrow goes through the window and disappears. And this is like 2:00 in the morning. And I just look at him, I was like, bow's still in one piece because you had an arrow on it, and the sear on that dual caliper release had gotten damaged that day, and so it broke, so it wouldn't hold pressure. we found the arrow the next morning. We're coming back from that midday hunt, and his mom's like, "Why is there an arrow in the rose bush outside my kitchen window?" What are you talking about? And sure enough, his arrow had went like 15 yards through this window and was just sitting in the rose bush, and you can see it plain as day from the kitchen window, and his mom is just grilling him about it.
She didn't know about the window at that point.
Did not know about the window.
I will not draw a bow back without an arrow in it, no matter what. It's just, you don't know what can happen. I've had it with release caliper having issues and stuff before. Just, Yeah, on purpose I won't. I just said that even though I told you I dry fired it. On purpose I will not.
On purpose.
And again, I've seen more release malfunctions than I've seen a D-loop break or any other part of that system go. It's usually something is going on with the release.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I've punched myself in the mouth 2 times in a row because of that. This was years and years ago, and I had a pretty cheap dual caliper release.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my driveway shooting into my garage, and I'm just coming back, and that thing broke loose, and bam, I hit myself right in the mouth so hard. And my brother and my friend are just dying, and I'm fighting mad. I mean, I am fighting mad right now. I am so mad, and I'm like looking at my release. I'm looking at my bow. I put my release on, and I'm pulling on it, and I'm like, there's no way I touched my trigger, because I have a habit of put my finger behind, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know what happened. I put another arrow in. Bam! It breaks again. I punched myself in a matter of 3 minutes, drawing my bow twice, punched myself in the face twice. It's so hard because you're pulling.
Yeah.
You're pulling
all of
dude.
it.
When it breaks loose, it's like getting bam. I was so mad, but and the end result was my D loop. The inside of my D loop had broken down enough that there wasn't enough girth left for the calipers to hold, so it would just slip past the D loop.
Yeah.
Dude, I have never been so mad at an inanimate object as I was at that moment, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, if it was
If that would have been a guy.
dude.
I got lucky. I only did it one time, but it was trying to learn how to shoot a hinge.
Yes.
And it was the first time, and it had a safety on it. And I'm pulling back, and I knew I was back there, and I don't know if I just got a little handsy and over. I don't know what it was, but that safety was still set, and it went off, and Pellegrino still has an arrow up in the wall, and I had a bloody nose.
Dude, that's when I was learning with a hinge. That was the only time I did that too. It was what were the ones? It's like supposedly the beginner ones that are supposed to be foolproof. Is like maybe it's True Ball or something.
Sweet spot.
The sweet spot.
I've
That's
done
it.
it with the sweet
Yeah.
spot. Dude.
That was mine. Yeah, I didn't want to say which one.
Yeah, that's the same one that I did it with too, and I'm sure it was user error, it wasn't the release, but like I did it. I was like, I am not meant to do this. I ended up figuring it out. But
My buddy Adam that was teaching me, he hands me that one specifically. He goes, it has a safety. Just make sure it's pushed here, and he puts it on and rotates it. See, it won't come off. And I was like, okay, bam. Nope, you lied to me.
yeah, and I still don't feel comfortable with the hinges. Like I shot for a while. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna try to be better with this thumb button.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's but honestly, even like with release maintenance, I've learned the importance of that. The more that I've had more opportunities to hunt now of getting dirt and stuff in there. I've had where sometimes they just won't close. They keep getting, stuck open, or even putting, cleaning it out, putting a few drops of oil in there here and there just to make sure it's functioning properly. I never thought about that before until you have a few issues like that. When things go a little bit haywire, but it's always funny, when you go to say like a tack event, you see people they're shooting, hinges or back tension, all this stuff, and when you've never done that before, you're like, man, how does this person get so good? And probably just about everybody has went through this evolution has had some sort of a bad experience prior to becoming good at it.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. Like we talk about bow hunting and just archery in general. I feel like you never master it. It's just this ever evolving thing of just kind of pushing and learning. And like my one thing this year is learning as far as, and I want to ask both of you guys this question, but when you say you're elk hunting, or whitetail hunting, and deer or elk comes through at a point where you don't have a chance to range it, which happens pretty dang often, at least in my experience. And maybe you have a tree that's marked, this is 45, this is 30. There's somewhere in between it. If you're are you, when you know, everyone talks about gap shooting, okay? Are you using, say, that pin above and putting it up somewhere? Are you looking between the pins? How are you doing that gap shooting? I was just thinking about this the other day when I was personally shooting in the yard and trying to figure it out. I think I was doing it different every time, and I was like, I need to get a system down.
So I shoot a single pin.
Okay.
And I set it at 50. It's always at 50 unless I have time and need to move it. But for the hunt, I just have it at 50. And there's a trick. It's called different things, but I always call it the 50-foot low trick. So try this at some point.
Yeah.
Next time you're out in your yard, anywhere between pretty much about 18 to 20 yards and around 39 to 41 yards. It just depends on your peep height and your setup, but it's generally within that range. If you take your 50-yard pin and you aim a foot low, you will hit your target every time from the 18 to 40, 20 to 40 yards.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to try it to believe it. But that's how I bow hunt. So I'll have it set at 50. And if I don't have time to range it, I can know, is this dude between 20 and 40? Absolutely. And I just aim a foot low. So on an elk, I'm right below the heart. And then whatever margin of error I need, it's definitely between heart and lungs. It's a dead elk. And with a deer, I'm just a little bit down below the brisket, maybe almost halfway to the knee, and then go up a foot from that, and you're right in the boiler room. And so you don't have to worry about ranging. So when people hear I hunt with a single pin, they're like, "What do you do? Like, how do you do that?" I'm like, and so I tell them that story, and I get this reaction.
That's mind blowing.
And there's physically I've got one in my office already built up. There's a tape system that you can create to take all those measurements, and it'll show you what is your acceptable margin of error off of that foot. Is it 1.5 inches? Is it 2 inches? And so the wider your margin for error, the more you can get away with. But there's a bracket that you can put together on a target to do all that testing to figure out what your sweet spots are.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Evan's way of overdoing it.
Yes.
I just go out, dude. I'm like, put it at 50. I go to the 3 park and I just start shooting stuff at 20, 25, 30, 37, whatever. And I'm like, yep, I'm good. I'm killing anything at a foot low, 50 foot low. And, a lot of times you will have a chance to range, and you can range it and you can dial it to whatever.
Yeah, because anything over that, if you don't really have a chance to range, you probably don't have business shooting it.
Anything over that, you should have time to range it and take your time. And, if you're in the woods and you're not going to use a 50 ever.
Does that work for 40 in any sort of, or like any other, like, so even like if you're whitetail hunting and your shots are probably going to be 30 and under, you're still keeping it at 50?
If it's really thick and like I know he's just going to be, it's going to be a 20 or 30 yard shot, then there's not really any reason to do that. I'll just put it at 25 and just whatever. But yeah, just because that's what I practice and it's what I'm used to, it's just safe to leave it at 50 so that I always know. It's kind of like going back to your 20. You just always know it's at 20, but I always know it's at 50. And then if I don't have time to adjust it, it's just a foot low. Mm-hmm. Again, this isn't something you do to go win an ASA tournament,
no,
right?
Yeah. This is a hunter. This is a hunting
mentality. This is trying to hit the
kill zone.
Kill zone. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Like I love I wasn't expecting to get that nugget of information out of you, but I am 100% trying that. Yeah. And when I have arrows that I can't find in the yard, I'm calling you. If you're like, yeah, got him, Evan. I'm definitely gonna try that because that's especially when I look at like the places where you have those opportunities that'll be in there. A lot of my whitetail setups are that 30 and under. I leave mine at 25, and that's just I know. And so the one thing that I had been doing, it helped a lot, but I'm still not totally there yet. But I'll take a target and say if I'm leaving it at 25. When I was elk hunting last year, I left it at my top at 30, and that gave me a little bit. But I knew I'd aim at the dot, okay, at 30 yards, shoot, make sure I was on, okay, it's in the center. Then I'd go closer. I'd go to like 18, shoot, still aim for that same dot, and I'd see where it hits. And then move back and do that anywhere from 50 to 18 yards essentially. And I'd take where all it's at. I'd take a picture with my iPhone, and you have a little drawing tool and you can edit. And I'd circle them, and I'd write what yardage and where that hit, so I could have an idea on where my arrow is hitting, to help me kind of gauge, what I would need to aim for based on that. And that did help me a lot, but the whole idea of figuring out, again, do I aim just high with that top pin, or do I look through it in that center part? And that's something I've run into. But what about you, Evan? What's your process?
So the last couple of years I've run a 3-pin with a bonus. So I've run 30, 40, 50. If I need to gap shoot, I am splitting pins and looking between the pins.
Okay.
Because I physically want to put my eyes on the spot that I want to shoot. So, and if you try that sometime, like let's say you're at 35 yards, so you're gapping 30 and 40. If you just kind of let your pins float, but you keep your eyes fixed on what you want to hit, you will naturally and subconsciously break that shot when it's in the middle. Same thing if you step up to 34 or step back to 37. Like you let your brain work the way it wants to. And if you can physically see your target, then to me, that's better than trying to, I want to hold this pin low, because your eyes are telling you want to hit here, but you're forcing your pin to sit here. So you're going to be bobbing quite a bit, and you're going to break either on the way up or on the way down. So you're either going to hit high and potentially wound an animal, or you're going to go low. So figure out what works for you with your system, your mental game. Mine is always, I want to see my spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'm similar on that aspect, as far as like when I've tried it's a mind game of like holding that pin down. That's why I'm interested to see how aiming below the deer is going to feel. But
again, if it's one of those where you want to put pin on target, then if you're using that, I call it the trick pin system. Jeremy calls it 50 a foot low. Okay, same exact thing. If you can physically go, okay, a foot low, that's going to be that blade of grass or that weed that's behind him and underneath, then you physically have a spot to put it on. The first high country velvet buck I shot, I guessed him. I thought he was, I don't remember what I thought it was. I thought it was like 65 yards, and shot way off. And I was like, oh, I need that pin to be way up here. And I found a branch. I was like, I should put that 65 pin up there. I held on a spot on the tree and just let the arrow dump in, because I physically have a reference that my mind can focus on. Doesn't matter what else is going on, either like Jeremy's coming up into a target on that one, I was dropping down into a target.
Okay.
Same thing if you're shooting an attack. If there's a log or there's a branch, there's an obstacle between you and that target, and mentally your mind is going to be, don't hit it, don't hit it, don't hit it. Well, add 2 or 3 yards to your sight and aim for that spot, because if you're adding yardage, you're going to be above it. Mm-hmm. But your mind wants to focus on it anyway, so dial down into it, aim for it, and let the arrow go over that spot because you've added yardage.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good trick, because I know even like, especially at longer distances when you have it, and when I did the podcast with Lee Lakoski, he talked about this a lot with like hunting mule deer at longer distances. He's like, a lot of times you can't see the vitals, but you got to aim at that hill that's in front of you. He's like, it messes you up. Yeah. He's like, when you know your bow and that it's going to arc over and go down in there, which totally makes sense. I've been at tacks where it's like, especially you're the big group of guys and you're like, I don't want to screw up, in front of running. Actually, I was shooting with Dudley before, and I was like, first time shooting with him, I'm like, oh, this is great, and I'm gonna look like an idiot. And we come up and he looks and he's like looking at my setup and everything, and he's like, all right, he's like, you're good. I shoot and I smash this branch. I mean, just smash it. And he's like, I knew that was going to happen. He's like, you're shooting those heavier arrows. He starts giving me this whole thing. I was like, really? He did help me sit there with a pocket knife and cut my arrow back out, which I appreciated. But I was like, thanks for giving me more anxiety than I need.
If you have an obstacle above, just drop down and shoot from your knees. Give yourself the extra 2 feet you're going to drop.
Yeah.
So there's my tack advice for you.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice there. Okay, so question still on the same track with aiming. When you have, say if you're lucky enough or maybe unlucky depending on if you know how to shoot this, but an animal at like 5 yards, gets like super close, and I've always learned that your 60-yard pin will hit directly on. What about with your 50 strategy? How does that happen? How does that work?
Yeah, it's going to be, I would just hold a tiny bit high to get to my 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you do in that scenario?
I rely on my bonus pin. So the way my sight was set up last year is I had 3 pins, so I did 30, 40, 50, and then I had the bonus pin in that UltraView slider. Mm-hmm. So with my speed, that put that bonus pin at 72 yards, which I'm spot on at 4.
Okay.
So
the thing I've run into with when you have a pin that's at the bottom, so I've shot a 3-pin vertical for quite a while now, and before that I was using the Spot Hog that was the 2-pin vertical. I like vertical pins, but I struggle with that bottom pin of like I'll shoot high more often than not, even when I know it's on and that's the way it's supposed to be. Something about in my mind aiming with that bottom one just throws me off.
Could be too the angle of your scope and how you're seeing it.
Yeah,
so
that could definitely, because it'd be like sometimes I'll be on perfect and then I'll have one that I shoot over the back and I'm like, what the heck? Mm-hmm. How did that work? So in hunting scenarios, I do everything in my power to not use that, which is not I'm not using the full capabilities of the sight. But yeah, that's interesting. Another question I had for you guys on stabilization: how much do you worry about like stabilizing weight? Are you a geek on this and you're just throwing?
Yep. Dude, exactly.
We are complete opposites on everything.
I love that.
Stabilize long sidebar, all these weights, and practice different angles of the weight, and I'm just like, I don't want to carry that weight. Just put a little 6-inch on the front, and it's going to shoot plenty good.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm totally good with that.
Yep. So I'm running a 15-inch front bar. We got 4 ounces on the front with a 12-inch back bar and 12 ounces on it. So my overall balance for mass weight on my setup on my AX232 is like 9 3/4 pound. I mean, I am heavy because I run a hinge to hunt with, and I'm very, very aggressive. So I'm running 80%, 82 pounds. I've got about 18 pounds holding weight. So I'm really ranking and just pulling hard in the back, pushing in the front. So I need more mass weight to stabilize and settle my shot as aggressive as I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't say I've never went and like actually like weighed everything to make sure it was balanced, but I've played around with different bars. For whitetail hunting, I take off the back bar in general and just keep on it, either the 6-inch or I think even last year for a while I was just running the little stubby one and then the Go sticks on there, and that was
I've done that too.
Yep.
That was it. And just recently, because I was playing around with it a lot, I put the 6-inch out front and the 8-inch on the back, and then the Go sticks, and I kept finding myself, I was just like just felt a little bit heavy in the front, so I just took that 6-inch off and put the stubby back on. I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. It just felt like it balanced. But I've never played with weights either. Like it was just like whatever the stabilizer comes with. That's just kind of what I've used.
And I do like Jeremy says, like I'm playing with that SL sidebar. I'm playing with my vertical angle. I'm kicking it out, bringing it back in, and really just like I want that bow to sit vertically in my hand when I come to full draw.
Yep.
And then when that shot breaks, it goes towards the target and then just stays vertical and falls with my arm. Mm-hmm. Now, I will try something different when the 26s come out, because by the time I have one, that'll basically be my bow prepping to go to Kansas for my whitetail hunt. And my daughter has gotten very, very excited, and she is very adamant that she is going to harvest her first deer this year. So we're going to be focusing on ground blinds. Mm-hmm. So I will go to just the 2 1/4 inch short up front. Mm-hmm. I'll probably still run a 10-inch in the back just to kind of pull some of that weight back for a balance standpoint. But I'll also go to a button instead of a thumb or a hinge.
Okay.
So I can still be aggressive, but I don't need as much weight in there because I tend to be more thumb pressure, so my shot doesn't take as long and it breaks quicker.
Yeah, and you're limited by the blind too, as far as what you're able to do. And that's the way I feel when I'm in a saddle. Like I can't have a bunch of stuff, especially as you and I were talking earlier, like when I shoot to the weak side shot, I like to go up and over my bridge this way. So relatively shorter axle to axle. Like I love a 32 or 33 inch axle to axle. I shoot them the best overall, but I know for my hunting scenarios, a 30 inches is the great sweet spot for it. So that's what I tend to go with, and that's, the hunting scenarios definitely, make a play in that too, for sure. Yeah, this is actually perfect. I didn't plan on this as far as YouTube being so opposite on things, but I think it gives a really good multi-perspective on going through the gear layout.
And I think that's why archery is so beautiful, because they're literally, and I shouldn't say there isn't, because I do believe there are some wrong ways to do some things, but there is so many right ways to do a lot of things, because it all comes down to how do you hunt? How do you shoot your shot? How do you execute? What have you been in hunting situation-wise that has led you to have this piece of equipment or that piece of equipment? It's so personal that you can't look at two setups and ever see identical pieces to it. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, it is so true, and that's cool about it. It's funny, like I did and even like with building bows, like I did I don't know if it was, there was two things. In the past, I did a bow build video that I was going to put on YouTube every year. I filmed it. I never put it up. There was two reasons. One, I was self-conscious on the way that I was doing things as far as how people would look at it. And then two, I just didn't have time editing. And then once I hired somebody to help me with the podcast stuff, I was like, okay, I had some more availability and utilized some more contractors to help me get it done there. But when it came down to the self-conscious part, I was like, this works for me. And it's doing it. Maybe this will help somebody. If someone has a better way, leave it in the comments. Let me know and be able to do it. And I had people say like, "Oh, you're doing this the hard way" or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, I learned something from it," or I'll give it a shot. But there's a bunch of different ways to complete the same task.
Right.
You guys are just as, I don't know, maybe you'd argue who's better at getting it done, but I would argue that both you guys. Jeremy,
I've seen his trophy room.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, but everyone's different, and it's whatever makes you kind of feel confident in that. Mm-hmm. Like one thing for me is with sight tapes, man, I want that to be exact, because I don't want it takes me so long to put a sight tape on to feel confident, because I'm like, all right, am I doing something weird? I need like 3 days at least of shooting to make sure that first day, even though things hit right, that it wasn't just me. And then usually the next day something happens, I fall apart, and I'm like, all right, step away, come back and try it again, and then see where I'm at,
Yeah.
Do you use any of those like the precision cut archery type builders?
I haven't used precision myself yet. I've done a lot with Archer's Advantage in the past.
Okay.
So and if I have a pair of calipers, like if I can get I like using like a 30 and an 80 mark versus a 20. Mm-hmm. So if I can do a 30 and an 80, and then I'll use a micrometer to measure that distance, input that in. I don't have to worry about my speed or anything, because if I know those two marks are good, then it doesn't matter what the chronograph says. That's going to tell me.
Yeah.
And most of the time with that, I can start stepping out. I can go, 91, 97, 103. I can come right back into 37 and start checking those oddball distances. And usually I've got a 30 to an 80 and 20 to 25 arrows.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I have two good reference marks. Now I just start fine tuning and testing.
Yeah.
And evaluating myself. Was that a good shot? Was that there, or was that over here? So, and a lot of that comes from trust and calling your shots. Like, was it really in the center when it broke, or was I floating over here at 9 o'clock and I broke on the edge, and that's where it should be? Because if that's where it is and you broke there, okay, then that's a good interpersonal look is, yep, I'm calling my shots. They're landing where I am seeing them.
Yep.
It means your tape is on. It means that you're calibrated as well.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, and I know you already mentioned what release you use. Do you use any special release, or are you a trigger guy?
So I've been shooting a Carter 2-shot for probably 15 years. Same one. And it's just money.
It just works.
Yeah, it has a super crisp trigger.
Yeah.
I think they call it a 3-seer release, or 3-seer release. So, it's as good of a trigger as you can get on a finger trigger release. But yeah, I just like for hunting, I want it strapped to my wrist. I don't want it in my pocket. Might lose it. I don't want it hooked on my D-loop. Might lose it. I want it on my wrist and just know it's there, and I just kind of have a thing. I tuck it back into my sleeve when I'm hiking or whatever, so it's not dangling around, but it's there. It's always there. When I shoot tournaments and target, I use a handheld, but for hunting, it's a wrist strap, baby. It's on. It's on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought I remember you using one when I saw you when we were hunting in Utah together last year. Not together, but we were in the same place. But I thought that's the case. And actually, that was a good scenario on that hunt. I lost my release. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. Luckily, it was after I shot my elk. We were blood trail. But I had to go on another hunt, and my backup release wasn't the same one, which was
changes quite a bit.
It does. Luckily, I was able to get it to work out, but I've learned, and now this year I have two of the same release to have. I have two of the same to get with it. So I learned, and I knew that lesson, and I always carry a backup release. So that was a start. It just happened to not be the same one, because we were talking. You gave me that advice on the last podcast. I was telling you I'd switch to a trigger for whitetail hunting because I was having problems with it. For some reason, out of a saddle or a tree stand, it just felt like my draw length was longer. I couldn't execute right with it. And I was changing to a trigger style, but then my peep's in the wrong spot, and I'm like crouching my head. And you're like, dude, I think your best bet would be is shorten your draw length a slight bit. Like, it's not going to change as much versus you changing your full release over. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm doing now. And so I'm learning.
It's baby steps, right? Yeah. And again, it's something that if you're not learning something new every day, then what are you doing? So there's someone's always got a different trick, or someone's always got something that you can pick up on. Yeah,
like I'm totally trying the 50-foot load.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's gonna blow your mind.
Oh yeah, I'm actually like really pumped about that. Try that out. That works. So Jeremy, I have a couple questions for you personally about. Okay, so you've grown up in Utah in the West and stuff. What's your favorite animal to bow hunt?
Oh man, it's probably elk, but whitetail are like right behind it.
Really?
I love whitetail hunting. Yeah, and a lot of people are kind of surprised by that because it's so different. Elk hunting, you're on the go. I mean, up the mountain, down a canyon. I mean, you're just on the go the whole time, right? Unless you maybe sitting on a wallow or something. And then with whitetail hunting, you're usually just sitting in a tree stand and like, don't you just get bored? And I'm like, I actually love it after hunting elk to just go and get in the tree stand or whatever, and just chill. But yeah, I would say it's probably elk with whitetail like right behind it.
Yeah.
Right behind it.
Yeah, what is it? What is it about? I guess I can totally understand the parallels there because I'm the same elk and whitetail bent, and I haven't hunted mule deer nearly enough. And I think we've talked about that before. I think I'd really get obsessed with mule deer hunting as I've learned to like spot and stalking so much. But when I'm whitetail or when I'm elk hunting, I love the aspect of moving and the run and gun aspect of going through the woods. And then on whitetail, I like sitting in the tree, and then by the time it gets to late season and say I get a rifle in my hand or whatever, you won't find me in a tree very much. I like still hunting, being on the ground, sneaking around, because like there's certain periods I'm like kind of sick of doing a certain thing, and that's just me personally why I like to do that. But with elk hunting, do you like the calling aspect of it, or like what's your kind of style of elk hunting?
When you can hit it just right and they're in the rut, right, there's just nothing better. I mean, they'll answer to anything and come looking for anything. So when it's like that, there's just nothing better. It's I don't know, man. When they're and it's so thick, they could be 20, 30 yards from you screaming, and you can hardly see them. You're trying to find them. They're right there. Like you can feel the rumble of their bugle, like they're so close, and you're just trying to find them. Or if it's not, if maybe it's way more open and you can see them across a canyon, and I mean, I remember one time watching this bull bugling and a bull around the canyon bugling. I couldn't see him. I could only hear him, and then it getting closer and closer and closer. And these two bulls, they got in right and started just fighting. Like they bugled and just kept coming. And I was across the canyon, 100, 150 yards, and just watched them. They fought for probably 20 minutes. They were in like this new growth area of quakies where there'd been a fire. So these quakies were only like 5 or 6 feet tall and just little sapling size, and they were just mowing them over, just going at it, and like, yeah, I didn't get a shot. I didn't get close enough to get a shot. I didn't try. I was just like in the moment, just enjoying, loving it, like unreal. Like there's people that will never see that.
Yeah.
Never hear that. Never know what they're missing. Like they just live in the city, And
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it doesn't, like, whether I'm sitting in the tree stand, whatever, waiting for something to come, or out in the elk woods, going looking for something, doesn't matter. Like, just the things we get to see and hear and experience as hunters, like, man, we're lucky, man. We are lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, at least I haven't been able to find that in any other way.
Right.
Like it's just, and there's something about rut hunting anything too. Like I'm imagining like most of your whitetail hunting is it during the rut.
Yeah. Cause we don't have whitetails here. So I have to book a trip, plan a trip, and I always plan it for that early November. And we were talking about at lunch, you get 5 or 6 days that you take vacation for and plan this hunt. And then sometimes you hit it right and you had a great hunt. And sometimes you're like, oh dude, I needed 2 more days. They were just starting to get going or something. So it's tough, but yeah, and then I have, you talked about my boys a little while ago, but my boys played football all through Little League and high school, and that messes up hunting season, right? And so for a long time, I had to hunt outside of traditional hunting season, and so we'd get a late season muzzleloader whitetail tag for South Dakota on a reservation. So they were done with football. I was kind of done with my busy time at work, and in December we'd go out to South Dakota and go whitetail hunting with muzzleloaders. And so if I go bow hunting, it's always during the rut, but I've done some late season firearm stuff and same thing like you were just describing, like, yeah, when I'm bow hunting, I want to be in the tree stand. You have to be pretty much, right? And then that late season stuff, man, we're going after them.
Yeah.
We're not sitting waiting for them. Like it's more like Western style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so much fun. And just in general, I mean, I haven't really been on a hunt where I was like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah.
Everyone I find like some aspect of it that's just like so much fun, or I want to learn more about and go just continue to get better at it. And actually, one thing I've been doing here recently, two out of the last 3 whitetails that I've shot, I think that's right, I've been on the ground.
Oh yeah.
So like my deer in Pennsylvania last year, the conditions are right. I learned this from my dad. He's shot a lot of bucks off the ground, and windy conditions. It's like, all right. I was like, I've been sitting out here on this edge of this clear cut for 3 days straight here, dark to dark, and it's like wind picked up 20 miles an hour, some blowing around the tree. So I'm gonna go into that bedding after him and sneaking through it. And I ended up shooting this buck at like 10 yards as he was. I grunted him, and he's coming in, and it was just like a rush. Like it's like chasing that rush, and however you can find it, like I like all of that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I like it just with hunting in general. I feel like there's not like a style that I have. It's just I like doing a bunch of different things. Just going after it. But
yeah.
I don't know. There's something to be said about being on the ground and having more things in your control. Like if the wind shifts, I can move. If I want to throw a decoy up, I can throw a decoy up. If I want to do something, that's how I grew up hunting too.
Oh yeah, you're from Kansas, so that's I feel like one of the main places when you think of whitetail hunting on the ground. That's a good spot to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, when they come into a decoy that you're holding and you shoot in self-defense, like that's a whole nother rush.
I could not imagine. I've never done that with the decoy on the ground. Like, you've shot multiple bucks like that?
The one that I remember the best, I've had a couple come into decoys, but one, I was on a cut cornfield, and the landowner had called me, and I went out there to go find a 32-inch wide mule deer, and I had one picture of a whitetail, and I called him Hollywood because every single day he's on my camera that's down there. And he's just this little 100-inch nothing of an 8-point. And the last night I was out there, I had a small mule deer push 23 does right in front of me, 25 yards. And I'm just sitting in some CRP grass, and I look down into the bottom. It's just this cottonwood mess. And 2 does jump the fence, and I look at this buck, and I was like, oh, it's Hollywood doing his thing. And so he beds down. He stays there for about 15 minutes. And I was texting Matt Palmquist. He was about 2 hours south of me, and he was on a buck that night too. And I had my spotter up, and I had locked it on that buck, but he's bedded, and I can just see him from the side. And I just sent a text to Matt, and I looked in, and just as I looked in, he goes from side profile to looking out at the does in the field, but now he's head on facing me, and he's like 22 inches outside spread. I was like, oh, that's not Hollywood. That's a whole different buck. And so I texted Matt. I was like, I got one. I got to go. And I threw my phone down, grabbed the decoy, and I bail off the back of this bluff. And I go running down this bottom and start going straight at him. But I got to the point where there was one cottonwood, and it was like every 20 feet. And so I had the decoy attached, and I would pop out behind this tree and run to the next one. And I'd poke my head out, and he's bedded down this lane. And I pop my head out and run to the next one and pop out to see what he was doing. And I got to 150 yards, and he stood up, and he just stares at me. And it was so cold. I could just see the steam coming out of his nostrils as he's breathing. I'm like, oh, he's coming. And I sat down in dirt tractor tracks. Like, there's nothing close to me. I've got a tree at like 18 yards. And he comes straight down this lane, decoys on my left side. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to draw when he gets in here. And at about 25 yards, he angles and goes behind this huge cottonwood. I'm like, dead. I draw it back, and he comes out, and he's facing me, and he just keeps coming in, working in, turning broadside. And at just under 6 yards, he finally is fully broadside. His head is turned away. He's just postured up. And I'm like, thump. And I remember like hitting the trigger and pushing the bow at him. He jumps. I knock another arrow, and he stops at like 18 yards, coming to full draw. And as I do, he just starts walking up the bluff and just starts getting wobbly-legged. I'm like, I got to give him another one just in case. And I put another one in him, and he goes down the draw right back into his bed and dies. Oh. And I was sitting there, like, I dropped the bow and am just shaking because I've never had a whitetail that close. Yeah. Posturing me like, if you're going to stand, then we're about to rodeo because these other does have been standing for me. So.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have shot him, that probably would have got a little ugly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get up and run away from him, or something's gonna happen. But and Palmquist shot a buck that same night. Right as I was letting mine go, he had 2 bucks come in and clash. Yeah, and so while they were fighting, he snuck in and shot one. I think mine went 135 and his went 136. So we were like within an inch of each other. We were texting all night about who's seeing what and what's going on, and then within a matter of minutes we both put down bucks that are within inches of each other.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's awesome how things can happen like that too. Like both of you guys texting, probably been working hard at it, going through it, and like things hadn't worked out to that point, and then all of a sudden, boom, both tagged out.
Yep,
it's pretty cool. And Jeremy, do you have any like from just hearing Evan say about your wall of animals at home, do you have any of those stories that are like, if you would think of like one of the most memorable ones that come to you?
Oh, I don't know. It seems like they're all good, but that's what we love about it, right? They're all good and they're all memorable. I've had a couple opportunities to hunt caribou, once in the Northwest Territories and once on the Brooks Range in Alaska, and those are both awesome adventures, right? I mean, just getting there is an adventure, and then you just feel like you're somewhere nobody has ever been before, and so those were good times. I like look at my caribou and remember those times, and then most of the other ones, it's always about, as I think about those hunts, it's kind of like who I was with. I remember I shot that deer and my boys were right with me, or I shot that deer and it was with, Taylor was filming me from Hoyt, or I was with Danny Ferris, or I was with Ken Byers, or just these buddies, right? Or my dad or whoever. So that's kind of, I don't know, for me, what's more important is who I was with, who I was enjoying it with and sharing it with. But yeah, I don't know. They're all, like I said, they're all pretty cool.
Yeah. No, and I think that's cool what you said about the people you're with. We were just talking about that yesterday. Actually, I was on a podcast too about things, or maybe I don't remember if it was yesterday or I've done a few of them while I've been out here, but about the aspect of when you're with good people and just the stories and that experience that comes with it. I've shot some that like not by far not my biggest deer that I've had the experiences of being with people in camp, or they're on a pack out with me or drag or whatever it might be, and just like that, I remember those hunts like it was yesterday.
Yeah, yep. Some of those that have such good stories. I remember one time in South Dakota, we have a group of buddies and we'd go out every year, and it was just kind of a do-it-yourself hunt. We'd rent a farmhouse, and there's just tons of public land we could go on, and we could hang our own stands and whatever. And I was hunting with a good buddy of mine named Toby, and I'd had so many close calls in this stand, and this one morning, this buck, he came and he didn't come on the trail I needed him to. He kind of got behind me, and I rattled, and he came back, and then I shot him. So I went back to the farmhouse, and I didn't expect him to be there, but it turned out the wind had shifted and was wrong for Toby's stand, so Toby was in the house. And when I walked in, he was like, he just knew I was back early, and there's only one reason I was back early. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I shot him, dude. I got him," And we went straight back out there and found him and brought him back to the farmhouse. But like just stuff like we still, I don't know how long ago that was, but every time we see each other, we still talk about, remember that morning you came back early to the farmhouse and I was there because the wind was wrong. And anyway, so yeah, it's just every hunt has a story that, we're just lucky to have those and can remember them and share them and relive it. And so,
yeah,
it's good times.
No, it is. And even, last year you and I got to run into each other unexpectedly, being in the same place, getting to hunt, and like just even, we didn't actually physically hunt together, but we walked back towards the truck at the same time and went back to the lodge and reminiscing on stories and stuff. And it was like, I knew you from talking through meetings and calls, but it was like, you get closer to people when you spend time in camp with them and just getting to be on a hunt, and or sometimes you go further away too. I've had that happen as well, but it's it's pretty cool. That's for sure. We're definitely lucky to be able to have those experiences. I feel bad for people that don't hunt.
Yep, I know. Yep. Exactly.
They're definitely missing out on a lot of things that Mother Nature has to offer, and getting around other people does.
Yeah. All right. Well, right as we go to end this, I have one more question about what are these two deer that are behind you here? Do you guys know the stories of these deer?
Yeah. So this buck, Randy Walk, who was the former president of Hoyt, he shot that deer in Kansas. We have a spot out there where, every year 4 or 5 Hoyt employees go out. We just kind of trade off whoever can draw, and has a break in their kind of hunt schedule, and they want to go out there, and they can go out there. But, and it's, usually, we're shooting, I don't know, we've shot 130 to 180 inch bucks, but it's usually, there's potential there, but it's not like we're going out there every year thinking that's going to be there. So anyway, he was out there, and the guy that kind of keeps the camp organized for us, runs it a little bit for us, he said to Randy, he's like, "I saw a deer. He's a big deer, and he's living in the CRP. So I got to stand in this little clump of scrub oak out in the CRP, and it's about 3 feet off the ground. It's just a little platform with a lawn chair on it. There's a 1% chance this deer is going to come by you. But that's better than 0. And Randy's like, "That is better than 0. Yeah, let's do it." So he takes him, he gets out there in the middle of this huge CRP field in this little clump of scrub oak. And there is a trail that comes through the CRP right through that scrub oak. So he's like, maybe it's a little more than 1%. And dude, early that morning, like 10 o'clock, he sees this doe coming at him. And he pulls his binos up, and behind the doe is this buck. And he's like, "No way. She's on the trail, like that comes right through here." So she's coming, and he's chasing, and she gets to like 40 yards, and she turns and goes the other way, and he's like, crap. And maybe it was even more than 40, but so the buck gets to where she turned, and he stops, and he kind of looks at her, and then he looks at the trail, and he decides to just keep coming. And so he kept coming, and he came right in this clump of scrub oak or choke cherries or whatever it was, but just a little brush pile. And Randy's standing on this little platform 3 feet off the ground, sees the deer coming, comes to full draw, and he comes right under him and shoots him. So,
how big is that deer?
224.
I see when they get that big, I don't even know how to judge them. I've never seen a whitetail like that before, but that is just insane.
Yeah.
For anyone that's listening to the audio version, either head over to Spotify or YouTube to make sure you check that out. That's insane.
Yeah, he's an awesome buck.
Yeah.
Awesome buck.
Oh, and then what about the big mule deer over here?
So this one of our engineers, his name's Daniel, and he's a killer. He's got a collection of mule deer that's just insane. But he drew a really good tag. He put his homework into this area where not a lot of people would guess to try and get this tag. But he kind of figured out some migration patterns where people know there's some good deer, and he figured out if I draw this tag, it's later in the year, the migration, I think those deer move through there. And he was right. Like, he had an awesome hunt. He was chasing good bucks every day. And it was a late season tag, so the rut was going on. And he's shot that guy on that hunt. I mean, it's was this 241?
243.
243. Yeah.
Yep.
243-inch mule deer.
That he saw one side on running through the junipers and went, yep, we're going.
Yeah, he saw that main beam, and he's like, that's whatever the rest of it is going to be good.
Yeah.
And so he hadn't even seen, like, it's not like he glassed it and stalked it. It happened really quick for him. He was chasing the doe through the junipers, and he saw that main beam, like Evan said, and came to full draw. When it cleared a juniper, he stopped it and shot it. And then when he got up to it, he was like, bonus.
Yeah. His dad, deer's on the ground. He goes back as his dad's with him. And dad's like, it's a good buck. He goes, it's a good buck. Do you go 200? Yeah, Dad, I think he's going to go 200. And he's going to go more than that? He goes, yeah, I think he is. And they walk up on 243.
Oh, dude, I mean, both those are like those like majestical, like just, I don't know how to explain it. Something that's just truly once in many lifetimes of deer that are here.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, it's part of. I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of weird, but I like to think about these things. But it's just they get that big, and I don't know. It drives us crazy, right? But it's like I just think about. I don't know. Again, I'm kind of weird, and it's a little bit personal, but they didn't have to be made that way, right? Mm-hmm. Every deer could be a 2-point, and we would just all be hunting 2 points, and we'd still have fun. But I think I don't know. I think God wanted us to enjoy it even more. And he's like, I'm going to make them bigger every year.
Yeah.
And these guys are not going to be able to handle it, and they're going to love it. And, and we do. We love it, man. I don't know. It's just.
No, that is so true. But what's also crazy is there can be multiple deer that are that age that'll never get those antlers on it too, which is wild. I've seen it with whitetail hunting in places that's like, okay, like say in Pennsylvania where I hunt, 125 to 140 inch deer is a big deer. Right. Every once in a while you'll get a random 160, 170. It's like, what the heck? Where did this come from? How did this happen? And it's wild.
Right.
And I think that's what, big antlers aren't everything, but it definitely drives you and you'd be lying if you didn't like it. Like,
it's just crazy what it does to us, right?
Yeah, it truly is. No, this whole building is lined with big antlers of things. These are just a couple here, but it's pretty cool. So, well, I don't want to take any more of you guys' time, but thank you so much for having me out here, showing me around, taking the time out of your day to do this. So
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it.
yeah. Well, and for everyone listening, go check out Hoyt bow hunting. As far as that's the bow hunting version on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff. And what's the other one?
So we have the Hoyt Tagged Out, which is kind of the trophy page for the consumers.
Yep.
Then Hoyt Target Archery, if you're more wanting to or are on the target side of things. So, and it's just Hoyt Bow Hunting on YouTube as well.
Yep. And then is it just Hoyt.com or HoytArchery.com?
Hoyt.com.
Okay. Okay, cool. Well, everyone go check that out there. And since we can't give you any little tidbits on 2026, we'll have more information on that later.
New compounds, right?
Yeah, new compounds.
New compounds.
New carbons, new aluminums, like all kinds of stuff.
Cool. Whatever, guys. No. All right. Yeah, like I said, seriously, thank you so much for having me. All right, see you guys. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.